A warm good evening to everyone and a heartfelt welcome to today's discussion organized by Talking Films Online, also known as TFO. My name is Tanmay and I am your host for today's session. TFO begins its journey with Professor Nikhila and Dr. Gita Vishwanath in June 2020 during the lockdown. Over the years, TFO has metamorphosed from a spontaneous idea into an expanding community of cinephiles encompassing scholars, researchers, students, professors, filmmakers, and anyone passionate about cinema. We are delighted to have sustained this forum thanks to you, our dedicated participants, who gather every Saturday at 9 p.m. as per Indian Standard Time on Zoom to talk about cinema. It has been TFO's practice to invite individuals to select and lead discussions on chosen films, which participants are free to watch at their own time and place. TFO also has the pleasure of hosting eminent filmmakers, professors, cinematographers, scholars, and editors like Aparna Sen, Amol Palekar, Girish Kasaravalli, and Adur Gopalakrishnan. Our journey has also included
जी,
film festivals such as
जी,
South Asia, South Asian,
चौथे
East
मिनट चौथे
European, Iranian, women's cinema, among others. Every June, TFO hosts a smartphone short filmmaking contest for students and organizes a lecture series in university departments to commemorate its anniversary.
अबू अबू
Last September,
Dracula Sir.
we organized our first offline event, an international seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era, in collaboration with FCT Baroda. This year, we are also organizing another international conference in hybrid mode titled Screen to Street Decoding Cinema in Everyday Life in collaboration with Banwarilal Bhalotia College, Asansol, West Bengal. Now, friends, for tonight's discussion, we will focus on the film The Dracula Sir, directed by Debaloy Bhattacharya. The film has been chosen by Dr. Chandrabali Dash, who will also lead the discussion today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Das, who currently holds the position of Associate Professor and Head at the Department of Political Science at Kirtipur College, Kolkata. A gold medalist in her Masters, Dr. Das has completed her PhD from Jadavpur University, and with over 10 years of experience in teaching and research, her work focuses significantly on international relations. She has also published extensively, covering a variety of topics, including human rights, violence against women, and the changing roles of law and the Indian judiciary. By employing an interdisciplinary approach, Dr. Das continues to provide valuable insights into contemporary debates on violence, conflict, and international relations and politics. Recently, she has also edited a book titled Understanding Human Rights in the 21st Century Challenges and Opportunities. And this book has been published by Classic Publishers. We are truly honored to have Chandrabali ma'am with us today, and we look forward to an engaging and thought provoking discussion. Now, I'm officially handing over this mic to Chandrabali ma'am. Ma'am, you are open to speak.
Thank you, Tonmoy. Thank you so much for introducing me to the audience. I'm really honored. Only one thing I would like you to rectify. I am presently not the head of the department. Headship has changed, and all the other information that you have provided is truly very correct. Okay, thank you so much. Now, today, let me talk about a very interesting film that is, as you have rightly said, directed by Debaloy Bhattacharya, cinematography by Indranath Marik, and music by Neil Dotto. Now, this film actually, from the title Dracula Sir, all of us may assume that it is a gothic horror narrative, but it is not really so. The film actually centers around a very peculiar character. I must tell you, the characters of this film, Roktim Chaudhuri, very brilliantly performed by Anirban Bhattacharya, Manjuri, his lover, played by Mimi Chakraborty, and besides, we have a lot of supporting actors and actresses, among whom mention should be made about Rudranil Ghosh and Vidipta Chakraborty, along with Supriyo Dutt. They have actually provided a very strong supporting performance, which have made the film even more emotionally very, very touching, and I should say its after effect, the hangover, remains for a long time after the credits roll. So actually, the film centers around Roktim, a very, very timid and repressed man who is a school teacher in a primary school teaching Bengali, but actually he transitions in between, he travels in between his past memory, past life, and the present. So he imagines that in the past he was a fiery revolutionary during the Naxalite movement of the 1970s, who had been oppressed, who had been the representative rather of the oppressed and the exploited people, exploited by the authority, and at present he is a very, very repressed, timid and submissive kind of a man. So actually what we find throughout the film, he actually travels in between these two timelines. Once he goes back to the 1970s revolutionary days, Naxalite movement, Naxalite Kolkata, and immediately he returns back to the 2020 where he is the school teacher. Now, what makes him so peculiar? And from where does he derive this name Dracula Sir? Actually, he has two protruding canines. Now, you all must have watched this film, and you must be aware of the thing that the two canines, which are very, very protruding, they actually make him a distinct person whom everybody is afraid of, annoyed of, and even the students of his class, they are also quite scared because of his teeth. And actually, his teeth, because of his teeth, the entire society has projected him as a monstrous fellow and stigmatized him, which makes him very, very alienated and isolated. And he becomes so desperate at one time that he even visits the dentist to get his canines uprooted. But actually, on the advice of the dentist, that maybe the canines are for a particular purpose, so he should not think about removing them. So Roktim ultimately gives up this idea, and this thing is later on we find that repeated by his lover Manjuri. Now, here also we must note that Manjuri is a very, very mysterious figure, and at times it looks like Roktim hallucinates as if Manjuri is coming to him, talking to him, because when he was Omol in the past life, the fiery revolutionary Omol, at that time Manjuri was his lover, and at present, when he is Roktim, he still hallucinates as if Manjuri is near him in his surroundings, and she comes to him to console him every time when he is in very, very depressed mood. So Manjari also repeats the same thing. He says that Roktim, or rather Omol, you don't have any other weapons now, you have only these two protruding canines, so use them as your weapons. And this timid and repressed man who always remains subjugated to everybody, that man at times turns to be very madly, very fiery, and the revolutionary spirit hidden inside him that actually comes out, that bursts out sometimes, making him really scary and frightening to the people around him. Now, what we find actually, Roktim in this film, as long as he is Roktim, he lives inside an apartment quite old, and his landlord Bhuban Babu continuously abuses him and calls him Rakhosh and uses him as a weapon to frighten his maybe his grandson, because in the film what we find, this man Bhuban Babu, he abuses his nearby relative Shamita, played by Bidipta Chakraborty, and he is a very, very perverted kind of man, corrupt man, who abuses his relative, as well as Raktim, who is actually his tenant. And Raktim remains very timid, does not actually oppose whatever Bhuban Babu says or tells him. But at times when his revolutionary spirit wakes up, he actually uses his canines to teach lesson to Bhuban Babu. Now, in this way, we find that the film actually it is a psychological thriller, but in a very, very non-conventional sense. At the same time, it has some historical undertones, you can say, some political undertones, and over and above everything else, it is a haunting love story. So, uh, along with all these things, Neil Datta's music, particularly, and his music actually gives a very mystic and I should say, a really non conventional appearance to the whole film. If you follow the lyrics of the songs, you can well understand that how this film becomes different from the contemporary Bengali films, the thrillers, the other films. And what is most interesting is that most of the time in the film, there is a dark background with bluish and pinkish overtones and some whispers or echoes from behind to give the film a haunting type of outlook. So, together, what we find it is also sometimes very confusing to the viewers. The viewers find it really difficult to relate this character Anirban Bhattacharya. They feel that whether it is Amol or whether it is Roktim, and finally at the end of the film, what we find that Amol Shom, who Roktim was imagining that he himself was Amol Shom in his past life, who had been shot by the police during the Naxalite movement, that Amol Shop turns out to be somebody else, not really Ruktim himself. And he discovers that he is actually the husband of Manjuri. That means in the past life, he was actually the husband of Manjuri as projected by a marriage photo that is hung on the wall. So, who is actually Raktim? Is he really Amul Shom, the fiery revolutionary of the 1970s? Or was he the husband of Manjuri? Or is he just Raktim, that timid and submissive man, the school teacher stigmatized by the society? So, this entire interpretation, is left to the viewers. Uh, Director Debaloy Bhattacharya has left this film actually open ended. He does not impose anything upon the viewers. It is left to the viewers to decide that who Raktim is. And the most important thing is that most of us whose characters are somewhat similar to that of Raktim, they can easily relate themselves to this man who has to remain submissive due to the pressures of the society. But at times, when things become unbearable, then ultimately the madness, the fiery spirit from inside actually comes out. So, there are a lot of incidents projected in this film where we find that Raktim is being mocked. He is becoming an object of fun. When he gets an offer from a particular film producer to act in a film, and that has to be also the act of a Dracula. So Raktim is offered the role of Dracula in a film, and when he refuses, the very headmaster of his school says that why should you refuse? What can you do? You have such teeth which you must make utility of since you cannot teach well. So at least you should act in a film by using your teeth so that you can earn some money. And all the other fellow teachers also start making fun of Raktim, saying what role you are going to play. Must be of a Rakshas, a demon, or what else you will get. And this sort of mockery continues even in the film also, where Raktim ultimately accepts the offer and comes to the studio to perform. There also, the heroine of the film, Romila, she makes fun. She's constantly teases Raktim, and at the end, when it becomes intolerable, Raktim ultimately uses his canines to take this Ramila to task. But immediately after biting Ramila with his canines, he returns back to his 2020 timid school teacher character, and he is where he is actually abused by the bouncers of the heroine. So throughout the film, we find a transition in between the timid Ruktim and the fiery Omol, and both are played by the same character. That is really very amazing and indeed very interesting. And the character played by Rudronil Ghosh, Katu Mollik, the villain in this film. Actually, by watching the entire film, it appears that the director Debaloy Bhattacharya has not actually depicted somebody strictly as villain. This also he has left to his viewers to decide whom to consider the villain actually, whether it is Katu Mullik or Shamita or Bhuvan Babu. So the characters that we find in this film are all open-ended, where viewers are left to decide who is good and who is bad, and ultimately at the end, what turns up is an eternal philosophical lesson where we find that every man has his own potentialities, his strength, his weaknesses. So when the society only points out the weaknesses, points the fingers towards the weaknesses of a person, then he ultimately actually when the things become unbearable for him, then he is compelled to bring out his negative self which remains hidden inside. So nobody is bad from the beginning. Nobody is evil or villain from the beginning. But it is ultimately the society that determines what character a person is going to assume ultimately. So after having said all these things, now I feel I must invite the audience to interact and present their valuable opinions and their feelings regarding this film. Yes, Tonmoy, will you coordinate?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for such a wonderful and informative discussion. Now the dais is open for everyone, and I'd like to request everyone to please come up with your questions and comments if you have any.
Just to break the awkward silence, let me come in. Thank you very much, Dr. Chandrabali Das, for this wonderful suggestion, first of all. We often keep hearing from connoisseurs of Bengali cinema that contemporary Bengali cinema is not so interesting and people go back to the past. But this is such a revelation, such an interesting film, not only because of the plot, but also because of the way the film is narrated. So it uses this unreliable narration. That is, we are not, in the beginning sure that what Raktim is, that the two plot lines that are being explored are kind of Raktim's imagination. We just see them as two distinct moments. which somehow seem parallel or unconnected to each other, let us say. So it's only as the chapters progress that we kind of get this sense that they're all projections of Raktim's mind. So I was thinking of the question, that the film poses as to why this kind of how this characters how to understand this character's so-called idiosyncrasy, that is his crooked teeth. So at one level, literally, we can see the teeth that are crooked, which gives him a complex and so on. But I was also thinking of it probably more metaphorically. So at a later stage, we see him quench his thirst with blood. So I was just wondering if the film is also in the present. Is the film trying to make a comment on Naxalism and the bloodthirstiness of the past? I mean, I was just wondering, at one level, it offers an explanation for his extreme anger, Raktim's extreme anger and response, that he literally bites people and so on. So who is driving him to it? Well, there is Amol who is driving him to it. So at one level, that is the narrative explanation which is offered. Amol and Manjari who are somehow, driving him to do what he's doing. But I was also wondering if it's possible, and as a political scientist, I'm sure you'll have a take on the 70s. So I was just wondering, is the film trying to also do something more? Is it kind of, saying something about the 70s? Was it, the bloodthirstiness of the 70s? Is it saying something about that? Was something I was just thinking of. And so this is one point. The second point, I mean, you mentioned that the actor, and in the beginning, just before we started, Rubaya was also telling us how the actor is very well known, who played Raktim, and Amol is very well known. I don't know much about Bengali cinema, but she was saying that he's extremely well known. I thought, I mean, it's phenomenal how he has acted these different roles. But even as he transforms from Raktim, the schizophrenic, to Raktim, who comes out after the treatment. I mean, the complete change in body language. You stop noticing his teeth. There's a certain boyish freedom, that is associated. It's almost like he's become light. So I thought, I mean, it's just so wonderful to see his acting as well in as Raktim himself. And the last third point I want to make is about the photograph that you pointed to in the end, which kind of is reflexive, referential. So what is it? Is it trying to undermine even the explanation that it has offered, that these are just projections? So is it like opening it out to a sequel or something like that? So I was just, so there are many things, like as if it is undercutting its own narrative explanation by, still harking to the theme of reincarnation, which it denounces, by saying, no, these are just projections, he's a schizophrenic. So that is the dominant explanation, but it does not foreclose the idea that it might even have been a reincarnation. So yeah, so these are just some random thoughts, but a wonderful film which we would have just not known about had it not been for your suggestion. So thank you very much.
Yes, so actually, here the legend of Dracula has been used as a symbol. As all of us have rightly watched, that this Dracula, this is a symbol by using which the director actually tries to bring out the negativities that a person actually cultivates inside him, but only he brings it out at times as a weapon of self defense. And there is also one event which is shown in the film, that in the 1970s, when Amol was exorbitantly tortured by the police, at that time his teeth were taken out forcefully. And maybe when he takes a new life in the form of Raktim, those very teeth have appeared as canines to take revenge against those very people who are the representatives of the oppressors and the privileged class of the society, who have always exploited the underprivileged ones. So, this film actually is a very, very symbolic, I must say, and together with its non-linear kind of storytelling, it actually is a meditative journey in between the past and the present, and the viewers are left to decide whether they would like to take the past or the present and to interpret this man as Omol or Ruktim. So it is entirely left to the viewers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can
Is there
I
anyone? Yes, ma'am.
can I
Yes, ma'am.
come in?
Please.
Yeah. Thank you, Tanmay. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Das, for that nice introduction. Um, just to follow up from what Nikhila said, I thought of the film as, deeply political. In terms of its aesthetics, of course, it borrows from German expressionism. That's quite clear, the shadows and the chiaroscuro of that is the aesthetic, the dominant aesthetic in the film. But I thought through memory, the return of the 70s Bengal is what that highly traumatic period in the history of West Bengal. That is what kind of dominates the film. And it is, of course, done in a really wonderfully skillful manner through the kind of, collapse of these two characters. And the two narratives are not exactly parallel, but they kind of, bleed into each other. And ultimately it also evokes the gothic mode, and we know that the gothic is associated with the return of the repressed. So perhaps the this violent past of in the history of Bengal is not something that can be easily repressed. It is bound to resurface every now and then. And that is what the character of Roktem represents. So ultimately, although he, comes across sometimes as a frightening, a monster-like figure, he is not a monster through some intrinsic nature of his, but a monster created by society. So this is how I kind of read the film, as a narrative that is deeply political.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with you. Actually, it is a combination of a few themes, a couple of themes have actually combined to give this film its unique and non-conventional character. And these themes are one of alienation, societal judgment, historical trauma, and as you have very rightly said, the past always haunts us. You cannot get rid of it. Now, whether Roktim is schizophrenic, he is imagining, that's a different issue altogether. But the thing is that the revolutionary spirit of Bengal, that particular anti establishment politics of the 1970s, is also present today. It has not altogether died down. It somewhere remains down the lines in a suppressed form, just as the desires of Raktim remain suppressed in his character. So the fiery and revolutionary spirit of Bengal and throughout the country somewhere lies hidden in the overall system. And at times, when things become unbearable, they actually come out. They resurface rather.
Thank
So
you.
this film actually critiques the political idealism which had once consumed many individual lives like Omol, and through its, I must say, through its reincarnation narrative, that who was Omol in the past life has now come back in the form of Ruktim in 2020. Now, through this reincarnation narrative, actually the film explores the concepts of love and guilt, what I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. May I ask others to please come up with your questions and comments if you have any? The dais is open. Sanjay sir, do you have any comments to make or any question to ask?
A bit later, after some time.
Sure, sir. In the meantime, may I ask anyone else with their questions or commentary on this spectacular film? Okay, ma'am. So I have some observation. So this is a very fascinating film. But while watching the film, I remembered one short story that I read during in my MA period. That is E.T.A. Hoffman's The Sandman. So I do not work in psychoanalysis, but I really did not miss the similarities between them. Although this is a very unique film, and this is a very postmodern film also, because as Nicola ma'am already told, this themes of unreliability, and not only an unreliable narrator, but an unreliable narrative. Like when the film ended and we saw the picture, we really don't know who is Amol and who is Ruktim. Everything turned upside down. And with this concept of madness also come here, like schizophrenia, madness. So these are very postmodern concepts, and I think Debaloy Bhattacharya has done a spectacular job bringing all those elements here, and also string it very neatly, and it does not feel like anything out of any sequence or anything else. And as for Dracula, so the title of the film, I find it very Dracula basically a symbol also, right? If you read the Bram Stoker Dracula, although there are many like representations of two very unique monsters. One is Dracula, one is Frankenstein. Throughout years, we have many films on that. But Dracula is not a hero. Dracula is not an anti-hero. Dracula is a villain. If we read the original Bram Stoker version, but here it is changed, and like a symbol or a prop, Dracula is used. I mean, Dracula is needed to bring schizophrenia into Ruktim. Otherwise, he would not have been bullied by the students or people, and he would not have visiting his past and everything happens. So, in that sense, I think this is a very wonderful thing where these so many unique concepts, these so many things are stitched together in a very nice manner. That's it.
Yes, very true, Tanmoy. And one thing I would like to say is that whether Ruktim is really schizophrenic, or is he really a victim of oppression, and he has reincarnated in the form of Raktim from Amol. That is also open-ended. You see, you cannot arrive at a clear-cut conclusion that yes, he was schizophrenic, that's why he was having these sort of hallucinatory visions. Not that. Even there also the questions remain, that was he really Amol in his past life, or was he just a patient of schizophrenia? So everything is actually left to the interpretation of the viewers. Nothing concrete has been said by the director himself.
Yes, no, yes, yes. Like the author is dead, and the readers take out the meaning from the text. True, very true.
Yes, yes, yes.
May I ask others to come up with their questions or comments? Sridhar sir, you have any question to ask or any comment to make?
Yeah, Tanmay.
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, so I I like to add to what you said. That was a brilliant observation about this comparison with the Dracula of Stoker, where Dracula is basically he's Count Dracula, so he belongs to a very high social stratum, and he's in a sense he represents aristocracy. He's a noble man basically, and here Dracula has been represented as a person who has a very temporary job. Um, his economic situation is not good. The kind of leading a very precarious life, what we call precariat, basically. Um, Other than that, in Dracula of Stoker, there are multiple narratives from different points of view. And here the story, I mean, the film starts with the first person. It says, I was afraid. It's a narration. It seems that it is coming from the diary of Raktim, or probably a book which he has written, because later on it is referred to also by the psychologist, by the psychotherapist, who says that we would like to uh, hear passages from your books, next book, probably whichever you are going to write. So he is also a writer in that sense. So it is a first person narration combined with, as Nikhila already pointed out, and others also, that there is unreliable narrator. It's a kind of, I will say, a rare feat to achieve this kind of sympathy of the spectators by combining the first person narration and also at the same time being unreliable narrator, who is also a protagonist in the film. That reminded me of a short story, a really short, just of 2 pages, short story by Borges, which is called The House of Asterion. The House of Asterion is about Minotaur. Minotaur is a monster. And interestingly, in this short story by Borges, Minotaur recounts his own story. So it is narrated in the first person, and he becomes a tragic figure in the House of Asterion. Here also, Raktim becomes he attains a kind of grandeur of a tragic figure. And the spectators sympathize with him, despite being an unreliable narrator. So that is something, I think, the brilliance of the narration in the film. And as it represents someone who is different from others because he has 2 canine teeth which are protruding. So the doctor says, the dentist says in one of the scenes when he goes for the treatment, probably to get rid of the teeth, he says that culturally we are all scared to be different. So the society always tries to make you conform to the prevalent views or the official narrative. So there is someone who is different, who is the other of the society. So that is extremely fascinating, because it also brings the repressed memory of the past, of 70s, and that also invites us to um, to revive our memory, or to keep our memory uh, uh, always vigilant. As the epigraph of the film says, there is a line from Milan Kundera: the struggle of man against power is the struggle of memory against forgetting. So the official narrative will always try to suppress, to efface your memory, and because the nowadays the information is constantly being curated, filtered, and manipulated. So in order to fight against this hegemonic narrative, you have to keep your memory alive. So that epigraph which is given in the film, that quote says that we cannot forget it, and in any case, psychologically, as it the repressed memory, the repressed past, it comes back. So overall I really appreciated this film, and after a long time, I would say I saw this kind of very political film, and beautifully represented the way the narration is a kind of magic realism, or whatever you call it. That was absolutely fascinating. Yeah, thank you very much also, ma'am, for introducing this film to us.
Thank you very much, Sanjay sir. May I ask others to please come up with their questions or comments to this already engaging discussion, if they have any? Tarakeshwar sir, you have any comment to make or any question to ask?
May I come in?
Yeah, please, please. Is there anyone who want to ask any questions or any comment to make?
Yeah, this is only a small query. What happened to the extreme left movement? Seems to be kind of symptomatically, metaphorically portrayed in the movie, in the sense that there is something that happened in the 1970s and the goals of it, and the conflict within the individuals who participated in that movement, uh, in terms of their personal life, and then the uh, what the state is unleashing on them, and what they wanted to achieve. This conflict between the three, personal life, and then their goals, and then the state intervention in that. That apart, that is at one level. At the level of the present, in the movie narrative, it looks like it becomes a kind of taking revenge for more a personal issue. The public issue, the larger ideals, the larger goals seem to have evaporated in the process. I think the movie is indicating at it in a very metaphorical way. I thought that was quite interesting. Thank you.
Yes, very true, sir. I would like to add something. Uh, in this film, there is also a critique of this ultra left radical movement. As you have said very correctly, that what happened ultimately to this movement, we all know the fate of this movement. and the burning desire with which the youth of Bengal had plunged into this movement in order to make something different, to change the society, to revolutionize the system, that spirit ultimately evaporated with time. But the thing, this particular, I should say, political idealism, because the way this youth wanted to change the society, that way was very unrealistic. And actually, what happened, various, many lives, many young lives were actually destroyed due to this movement, which ultimately brought out nothing in the final outcome. But the thing is that this revolutionary or violent past keeps on haunting men, those who had seen the movement, or even those who read about it today. They are constantly haunted by the violence, the violent political undertones of the turbulent times of the 1970s. And the film is also a reflection of that haunting mood, that particular haunting, I should say, the recurrence of violence. Now, always violence in one form or the other persists in every society. So this film also brings out that particular factor, that maybe the violence that police and the authority used to practice during the Naxalite days, that has come down to a bit, but still violence in one form or the other continues. And if people really need to protest against that, they really require Dracula-like features as a weapon of self-defense.
Thank you, Tarakasur sir, for your question. Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else with further questions or comments before we end today?
I was also thinking about it in terms of uh, a lost, or at least a way in which the film deals with the question of masculinity and violence as well. So the extreme repression that Roktim faces vis-a-vis Amol, who's I mean, is there, I was just thinking, so Roktim, for Roktim, Amol is an ideal or an idol uh, because of what he can do, but he's also, in some ways, he's in his own crisis, because Manjari will not allow him to pursue his path, and he himself is kind of conflicted about it. I don't know. I mean, one viewing of the film does not seem enough to make sense of all its complexities. So I was just wondering if it has something to do with uh, the nature of coming to terms with masculinity. Just a thought.
Thank you, ma'am, for your observation. And is there anyone else with further question or comment?
One
There
thing I
is,
would like to mention, yes, is there anybody else?
yeah, I was just going to say about the monstrosity, that how this vampire has been represented here. Uh, monstrosity, as it has been discussed by people, that it's a social category. It's a socially constructed. Who is monster? And for example, here, what is the behavior of the landlord of Raktim? How does he treat his son? How does he treat his wife? how does he treat his tenant? He is using his tenant to scare away or to put his son to sleep. Um, so this monstrosity is there in other people also, those also people who are torturing or who have tortured Amol in the past life of Raktim. So here the monster is just like, it is presented in one character, but otherwise it is distributed in several different characters. And that monstrosity is not visible. It is only because of this physical anomaly, because of this canine teeth being protruding canine teeth, that we see the monstrosity in one character. Otherwise, monstrosity is there in the society which is not so visible. So it problematizes, I think, the concept of monstrosity.
Yes, sir. At the very onset of this discussion, I have said that one of the themes of this film is societal judgment. As very correctly you pointed out, that who is a monster is actually constructed by the society itself. There are several monsters roaming around us, but because they don't have canine teeth visible in them, we fail to recognize who is the real monster. So there is a societal judgment that has been a very strong factor throughout this film. And one thing which I would like to point out, since I myself appreciated this very much, actually Neil Dotto's background score, the music that he had used in this film, it has given a haunting mood to this entire film. You see, actually, the music it goes on along the beautifully woven some melancholic melodies, and at the same time, it at the background of a black and white, and sometimes quite you can see a very very mysterious background. These songs actually they bring out the film's emotional duality. So I appreciated the songs also very much, because I feel that the songs have contributed a lot towards bringing out the ultimate essence of this film. That what I feel personally.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you. And I want to extend that. I think when I was reading like film history, I think many eminent filmmakers were against using songs in their films because it often distract you from from the original narrative, and that's all. But it is very beautiful that when you use this song as a kind of making this background score and everything, this does not distract you from the story itself, but this only multiply your feeling and your attention to it. And this is a very haunting experience when you listen to these songs along with the narrative. So this way, I think this film is also very spectacular, like how it used this song, but still it is able to like engage us with the film at that very moment also. Thank you. So may I ask others if they have any comment to make or any question to ask before we end today? I think this is for today. So I will now formally offer my vote of thanks. Um, Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today's discussion. Now, on the verge of closing today's session, I want to convey my warm regards and deep appreciation to everyone present here. On behalf of TFO, I want to thank Chandrabali ma'am for making today's discussion so enriching and deeply rooted in our love for cinema, and also for her patience to answer all our interesting questions. And I also thank my co-interns for their relentless efforts in making this community active and running. Finally, last but not least, I want to thank Nikhila ma'am and Geeta ma'am for me building this community so that every weekend on Saturday we can come together and discuss films. Now, till we meet next time, this is end today. Until we meet. Thank you and good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.